in his normal spot, also in Omaha at 2:15. Excited to get Joe's thoughts on what we've seen over the past week and what we will see this evening. We'll get to this evening moving forward. We will. I'll just put it out there. I have not been this jittery for a sporting event in years. I don't know when the last, maybe the Cubs Game 7. Not even maybe 2019, any of the football games. Like, I'm jittery for this one in a big way. I think there's a little bit of personal touch there because I'm going to be able to go if they go, and my dad will be there, and that'll just be amazing. And just wanting this team to get it done. And as of 48 hours ago, that was a very, very long shot. Now it's a baseball game. You just got to go out there and get it. But let's talk about what we saw last night, because it was fantastic by this LSU baseball team that has responded to the moment just exceptionally, exceptionally well. We were curious to see who would get to start. I told you yesterday that I was confident that Javen Coleman would get the ball, and he did. And I told you one thing was important. One thing in that ballpark is important. Throw it over the plate. That's it. And Javen Coleman faced 9 batters and walked 4 of them. And you just cannot do that. And he created a lot of traffic there in the second inning. And Jay Johnson went to Blake Money. And Blake Money got an out. And then he quick pulled Blake Money after 8 pitches facing 2 hitters and went to Griffin Herring. And I thought that was a monumental decision in the game for Jay Johnson. Why? Because really, if you looked at the pitching staff that you had available last night, the only guys who you really feel confident can extend. Now, I wouldn't expect Nate Ackenhausen to go 6 innings the day before anyway, so not suggesting it's impossible for someone on the staff to go out there and give you length, but the 2 guys going into that game that you thought could give you some length were Blake Money and Griffin Herring. And you had recorded at that point 5 outs and were on the second one. It was unlikely Javen Coleman was going to give you 5 or 6 innings. It's unlikely that Riley Cooper was ready to give you 5 or 6 innings. It's unlikely that Gavin Guidry can go 5 or 6 innings. You don't think that Christian Little's going to go out there and give you 5 or 6 innings. Somebody has got to show some length in that game, and you took the ball out of one of their hands after he got 1 out. That was Blake Money. So if Griffin Herring doesn't have it, your season's probably over. And boy, did he have it. Griffin Herring goes 4 2/3 innings, faces 19 hitters, throws 80 pitches, and does not allow a single run. We told you after they lost that, hey, you're going to have some guys step up and do some things they haven't done. That's just the way this thing works when you get into the losers bracket. It doesn't matter if you're LSU and you're as talented a team as there is in college baseball, or you're Oral Roberts and you just found your way here. At some point to continue to advance, you're going to have to do some Herculean things. And Griffin Herring, with that slider and that fastball, he just tied Wake Forest in knots. And you had to have it. This is a guy who's been in some big spots early on. I thought it was a huge growing point for him when in Game 2 against Tennessee on a Friday night in the box, Jay Johnson left Griffin Herring in to go against that team in a tight game in the 9th inning. He let him go, and he grew up that night. And that just breeds confidence. And he hasn't been in high-leverage spots over the course of this postseason run. But they needed him in that spot, and he was there. And then he handed the ball to another freshman who was sensational, and Gavin Guidry and Riley Cooper closed it down. But you go through the game, and you start to look at the key moments in the game. Clearly, I thought that point going to Griffin Herring, who got the strikeout of Kurtz, was massive. I thought that Tom Walter made a terrible decision in the second inning. LSU had a couple guys on base. There were 2 out. There was a base open. It was 1 guy on base on second base. And there's a base open, and he pitched to Braden Jobert with Alex Milazzo on deck and 2 outs and first base open. I thought that was a criminally bad managerial decision by Tom Walter. And Jobert made him pay. He ripped a double down the line for an RBI. Then in the LSU third, how does the rally start? They walked Cruz. You cannot walk people in this stadium. It is absolutely unacceptable. And they walked Dylan Cruz. And guess what? After Trey Morgan singled, they walked Gavin Dugas on 4 pitches. That loaded the bases. You get the wild pitch, and Cruz scores, and then Cade Beloso comes up with the swing of the year. That is such a great moment for him. And this team, because they're sticking around as long as they have, and there are a lot of guys on this team that will leave a lasting legacy of what they accomplished at LSU. Cade Beloso is being one of them, writing this story right now, and just about all of them have had an Omaha moment. And there was one for Cade Beloso. I mean, he just hammered that ball down the right field line, and that's where you've got to hit it. You saw the game ender between TCU and Florida yesterday, all the way to the wall. You saw the ball that Dylan Cruz hit 113 miles an hour off the bat into the right center power alley that died. You saw Gavin Dugas hit it 112 or whatever it was yesterday that didn't even get to the warning track in left center field. You've got to get it down the line, and Cade Beloso got the bat head out there and just hammered one into the bullpen, and it was phenomenal to see. In the Wake fifth, I thought the strikeout of Johnson to leave two men on base was just an incredible job by Griffin Herring. That kept the momentum in your dugout. And then in the Wake seventh, Herring's kind of at the end of the rope. He's at 80 pitches, and they go to Gavin Guidry, and they say, hey, Gav, here's a baseball. You got a runner at third. You got one out. You've got a lead, and here comes two of the best hitters in the College World Series. Here comes Brock Wilken. Here comes Justin Johnson. These two guys have carried Wake all year. Wilkins hit 31 home runs. Johnson's statistics are off the charts. He punches out Wilken looking and punches out Johnson swinging to leave two on base. That is a freshman who was a shortstop like 20 minutes ago, who's now showing up on the biggest stage in the sport against two of the best hitters on the number one team in the country, and he gets two strikeouts to get out of that inning. But Wake kept threatening, and they threatened again in the eighth, and Jay went to Cooper, and this is just one of those deals where it's baseball. Hawk, who's been seeing the ball great, gets a pitch from Cooper out over the plate and puts a great swing on the baseball, and he lines it right to Tommy White. Right to Tommy White. That's just that's the kind of fortune you're going to need if you're going to win 4 in a row. And this ain't 4 in a row against some weak bracket. This is the Tennessee Volunteers and Wake Forest. You're going to have some fortune, and they got it right there. I think there was some debate in the LSU 8th. You got to walk from Beloso. You got to walk from Jobert. Milazzo flies out for the second out, and you've got runners at first and third, and Pearson's up, and LSU tries to steal the run with Merrifield. And I thought that was a fine play. At that point, you've got a 5-2 lead, you've got a 3-run lead, and it's okay to be aggressive in that ballpark against that pitching staff. Do I trust Josh Pearson to step up and get a big hit? I do. Is it the likely outcome? It is not. And if you've got a chance to try to steal a run, if you're down 2 runs, it's a terrible play. Awful play. But you're up 3 runs, and they've only got 3 outs to play with. I'm good with trying to get that 4th one home there. If Cruz is up, we'll have a different discussion. If Morgan's up the way he's swinging it, we'll have a different discussion. Right there with Pearson at the dish, you've got to play on, you've got to make a decision, and Merrifield just didn't get a great jump. He knew what he wanted to do. If they were going to pick to first, he was going to go. And he just didn't get the perfect jump. And then credit Wake, because Kurtz is an awesome first baseman, and they made the play. You are forcing them to make a perfect play. Like LSU basically forced Wake Forest to make a perfect play against Trey Morgan in the game on Monday. And the kid, Wilken, made the throw, and the catcher made the pick and made the tag. And sometimes it happens, and sometimes it doesn't. But Wake has made those plays, and you credit them for that. But Cooper was not to be denied. He goes out there, throws some more strikes, and that is the key part with this LSU team and the way that they're pitching the baseball. You look at LSU after Coleman came out of the game, after 1 1/3, so you had to go 7 2/3, and they only walked 2 guys in the last 7 2/3. That's what you've got to have. You cannot give free bases. And Wake has given some, and LSU's made them hurt. And LSU, for the most part, has not. They just have not walked a lot of guys. And I made a big deal about it yesterday, and I'll continue to make a big deal out of it today. And that ballpark forced these teams to hit. Nobody's batting average is sniffing 300 in this field. Nobody's red hot and hit 4 home runs. Nobody in the entire field. You've got to throw it over the plate, and LSU's back end of their bullpen threw the ball over the plate, and Wake Forest has not been able to hit it. Some of the statistics from Wake's offense have been pretty astounding. I'll give you some stats on Wake's offense, LSU's pitchers, and we'll talk a little bit moving forward about who's available today and what the pitching plan would look like. LSU and Wake will go at it again at 6 o'clock this evening. Pre-game will fire up at 5:30 on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. You'll have Chris Blair. You'll have Doug Thompson. You'll have Bill Franquez. They're having a heck of a time up there in Omaha, and LSU's got one more win to get into that championship series for the first time since 2017. We're talking about it right here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $25,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind. When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Day 9 of our coverage in Omaha, brought to you on Friday from friends at Supreme Rice. That's right, live at lunch from the Ameristar Sportsbook in Omaha. Day 9, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here, 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy Ott coming up at 2 o'clock. Joe Healy at 2:15. We'll chat with David Grubb about the draft and his Wake Forest Demon Deacons coming up here in 15 minutes. Speaking of those Demon Deacons, I listen to a lot of Jimmy and Charlie's show, and I understand that a lot of y'all this time of year, and especially this week, are kind of locked in maybe a little bit more to our entire list of program than you would be in a general day, because there's a lot to talk about here. So you don't want to rehash the exact same stuff over and over again. And I didn't hear Charlie and Jimmy talking a lot about, statistically at least, what Wake Forest is doing offensively up in Omaha. And I think if we were in Winston-Salem doing this show, it's all we'd be talking about, because Wake came in with one of the best offenses in college baseball. They hit a ton of home runs. They hit for a very, very high average. They scored a ton of runs. They're a really good offense. And yes, they play at home in a small park. I get it. They also played on the road and never lost a weekend. And have, it's not like they play all their games in that tiny little stadium. But in 3 games in Omaha, this Wake Forest team has 18 hits. Some quick math there. That's 6 a game. They're 18 for 91. That is a 198 batting average. And this powerful offense has 2 extra base hits and 16 singles. That's all they have to show for it. Wilkin has a homer and Corona has a double. They didn't have an extra base hit last night. Nick Kurtz is one of the best players in college baseball. He's going to be a first-round pick next year. He's 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts. Justin Johnson has been a catalyst in the middle of this order, hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th for this Wake Forest team all year. He's 0 for 12 with 5 strikeouts. Brock Wilkins, 2 for 9. Last night, Wake Forest, 23 of their 27 outs were either strikeouts or fly ball outs. You just can't win like that. If you don't put it in play and you don't put any pressure on the defense, you just keep hitting fly balls. I mean, look what they're facing. I don't want to be disrespectful, but there's a reason why some of the guys that pitched last night haven't pitched a ton this year. You haven't seen much of Javen Coleman this year. There's an injury there, obviously, but they haven't gone to him in 2 weeks. You haven't seen a lot of Blake Money this year. Griffin Herring, he hadn't pitched in a while. I mean, they're just not hitting. And if LSU throws it over the plate, there's your outcome. They can't hit. LSU pitching, conversely, in Omaha, has gone 35 innings of work. This is a staff that we, myself very much included, let me just raise my hand as high as I can. Y'all heard me after Mississippi State series. I've rattled off 20 names. So there's 20 guys that they had as options out of the bullpen, and not one of them has stepped forward. Well, I was talking post-Skeens and post-Floyd, and Skeens and Floyd are included in these statistics, but the staff as a whole, and they've had to use just about everybody, 35 innings of work, 25 hits, 8 runs, 50 strikeouts, and 15 walks. I don't care if you're playing in Yellowstone Park or the Traction T-ball fields. You strike out 50 guys, that's doing work. Their ERA in the College World Series is 2.06. So you start to look at this thing, and you could say maybe they're due in terms of Wake Forest, and they may be. You can bust out. But at this point, they're just not hitting at all. And hitting 9 home runs against Bama in your ballpark is all fine and dandy in the Super Regional, but those balls aren't flying, and I don't even see that much hard at least LSU is hitting a bunch of balls that I think should be rewarded a little bit more. And we can point to the ones that we've seen. White and Cruz both had balls that were hit deep to right center field. Dugas crushed one yesterday. Wake's not even really doing that. They're just a bunch of guys in a funk, and I got some troubling news for you if you're Wake. Skeens is not real fun when you're feeling really good at the plate, much less in a funk. And oh, by the way, when you look at all these Wake numbers, they played Stanford in the opener. They didn't see Quinn Matthews. They played LSU in the second game and didn't see Paul Skeens or Ty Floyd. They saw Ty Floyd, sorry, didn't see Paul Skeens. And then they come back and they get a bullpen game. They aren't even facing the aces that everybody else has looked at. And I lay all this out, and they could go nuts today. They could. No one's cracked 6 runs, so it would be a little bit of a surprise with likely Skeens on the mound. But it's been brutal for them. Here's something, though, that I've kind of learned over the years. And you can make just about any argument if you use enough history. You can find and pick and choose. But there are instances that I've paid attention to where I think that momentum day to day may be a factor. And then I look back and I go, it's really not. Momentum is just the team that makes the next big play. Because I would have thought, and this is the biggest example I can think of, I would have thought that Stony Brook was absolutely toast after game 1, where LSU on 3 different occasions hit a solo home run to tie the game in extra innings in the 9th, 10th, and 11th. 3 times. And then they called the game that day. They came back the next day, and LSU walked them off. And I went, okay. It was a fun little run there for Stony Brook. They had some leads, but there's no way they can get themselves back up off the mat. And you know what? They came out and they hit Kevin Gausman. College kids are pretty resilient. And so I don't believe that that LSU's got all the momentum and that, because let me tell you something. If Kurtz turns around a 101-mile-an-hour fastball in the first inning off Paul Skeens and lines it into the bullpen, do you think that LSU's going to have the momentum then? The momentum, I don't think, transfers over day to day. It's just the next big play. And right now, LSU is making those. Their pitchers are executing them, and their guys are getting the big hits. 2-out hit from Joe Bear to score a run. 2-out hit, home run by Beloso. Couple guys on, Herring, sliders, right? They're making the plays, and Wake Forest is not. So I'm not going to put a lot of stock into momentum here. I'm going to put a lot of stock into Paul Skeens pitching for LSU. And when Paul Skeens is on the mound for LSU, LSU is the best team in college baseball. And that brings to the forefront the decision of whether or not you throw Paul Skeens. And I don't know that there is one. Unless Paul Skeens wakes up today and says, my elbow really hurts, which I don't believe is the case, he's getting the baseball. There is no saving Paul Skeens for Florida. You save your ace in a regional in game 1 because if you lose, you're still alive. You don't save your ace in an opportunity where your season could come to an end. Paul Skeens has had 4 days of rest. He's 6'6", 240 pounds. He's in shape, strong, has incredible endurance and stamina deep into starts. And my anticipation for today is that Paul Skeens will get the baseball. He will throw 101 miles an hour. He will throw 100 to 110 pitches and give you a strong start. I don't need any momentum to tell me that. I think LSU will feel great when they get to the field, and I think Wake Forest may be a little more apprehensive today than they were yesterday. But all that changes with the first big play. And that's why it was so important for LSU to get off to a good start, and they did yesterday. And that's why it's really important that LSU get off to another good start today. And when you throw Paul Skeens out there, that tends to happen more often than not. Now, Rhett Lauder is the presumed starter from Wake Forest, although there may be some rumblings up there that he may not go. Here's the deal with Lauder. Rhett Lauder is one of the best pitchers in college baseball. He's going to be a first-round pick. And he has had a sensational season, 15-0, monster strikeout numbers, just fantastic. Wake has not lost when Rhett Lauder pitches. But there is some thought that he may be a little low on energy this late in the season. He's not as big and intimidating as Skeens is. There was a stretch from April 15th to May the 12th, a 5-start stretch where he was superhuman. Louisville, Pitt, Wofford, Boston College, and Florida State. He won all those games, pitched at least 6 innings and into the 7th, and completed 7 innings in 3 of those games. He threw 33 2/3 innings and gave up 4 runs in that 5-start stretch. His ERA in that 5 starts was 1.07. He was phenomenal from April 15th to May the 12th. Since that start, he's made 5. Since that run, he's made 5 starts. Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Alabama, and Stanford. He's gone almost the same number of innings, 30 and 2/3. So 3 less innings over the 5 starts. But he's given up 11 earned runs. His ERA is good. It's 3.23, but that's 2 runs higher. And he's thrown a lot of pitches in those starts, up around 100 every time. A couple of the ones against Louisville and Pitt were down in the 80s, 88 pitches, 83 pitches, 87 pitches. He's thrown more pitches, and he just wasn't very sharp against Stanford. He gutted it out because he's got 4 pitches, and he's a pitchability guy that's got 92 in the tank, 93 in the tank. But it's a really good changeup, and it's a really good breaking ball. But he just wasn't super sharp with command. He walked 4 guys in that start, and that was a season high. And Stanford just couldn't quite get the big hit against him, and he was able to get through 5 1/3 and only allowed 2 earned runs. So Louder may be a little bit compromised. The good news is if you're Wake, you've got a lot of guys you can go to in the bullpen that are very, very fresh. Sullivan notwithstanding, who pitched last night for an extended amount of time. We'll talk a little bit more in the second hour about where LSU stands from a pitching perspective and where Wake does. But as far as the starters go, I don't think Skeens is on some sort of 70 pitch count. I think you're going to see a full 100, 110 pitches from him. And there's thought that Louder may be low on energy and they may start with somebody else tonight. We'll see how it goes. I can't certainly confirm that, but there are some thoughts that may be the case. So I think that LSU has a small advantage they have an advantage at starting pitcher, in my opinion, based on the way those guys have pitched, the rest situation, and then as far as the lineup goes, LSU's been much the better than Wake in this couple games. So it's about one big play and one big swing, I think. Beloso delivered it yesterday because I don't see a game tonight where it's 9-1. I just don't see how a team separates like that because I think LSU's starter's too good. I think that the bullpen is good enough. And I think Wake's pitching staff is too good and has too many guys that are available in that ballpark for there to be a couple of huge innings to get to 9 runs. I think this game is played sub-6 like the rest have, which means it's probably going to be very close. And you just got to get the hit. When you've got 2 on and 2 out, you got to hit a gap or hit one down the line. You got to hit one over the wall like Beloso did. Those are the margins. It's not hit 6 home runs and blow a team out. That's just not out there. Which means you have a good chance to stay in it, even if you're on the losing end, but you've got to get that hit. And LSU's done a really good job of that the last couple times, and Wake got it in the 8th inning in the game on Monday. And I think we're headed in that direction. I said something on Monday that I've got to talk myself into again today. Because on Friday's show, I said how anxious sometimes I got when Paul Skeens pitched because I felt like you have to win the game that he pitches because if you don't, you're not as strong in the games moving forward. That's when you had the real advantage. You have to seize it. And then when the game's over and he's struck out the 11 or 12 that he normally does and he's gotten you through 7 innings of 1-run or shutout baseball, and I'm going, why was I anxious about that start? And I told you at the top of the show, I'm anxious about this game tonight. There's no two ways about it. I'm anxious about the game. Wake is good, and there's so much on the line, and I'm anxious about that. And then I've got to say, remember what you just said on Monday? Don't be anxious about Skeens. Feel good when Skeens goes out there. And I've got to talk myself into that. And so I'm trying to talk you into it as well. I put this on Twitter a little bit earlier. I think there are going to be a few people that are going to have to leave work and go make a little quick run to the beverage store because it's been a long week. A lot of baseball being played. I'm one of those. I'm going to have to make a quick run when I head home from the show and grab some things to enjoy this evening. Hopefully it's in a celebratory manner. But you got to feel good with Skeens going out there, and we'll see what Wake decides to do with Rhett Louder. Speaking of Wake, David Grubb, he's a Wake guy. We're going to chat with him a little bit about this baseball game and see what are the Pels going to do in tonight's NBA draft. That's next.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet. The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has up to $7,000 off MSRP plus 0% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks and incredible deals on all remaining.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We're recapping LSU Wake Forest from the College World Series. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. So we're going to find our guy David Grubb, Hard in the Paint Media. Saw him a couple nights ago on Twitter, peacocking a little bit. His Deeks got it done against LSU. And then last night, I was glad to see he owned up, said, hey, we didn't have it tonight. We'll see you again for round 3. He joins us now. I didn't know you were a Wake guy, David.
Yeah. I was part of a class of 3 from New Orleans that went to Wake Forest, and I have a lot of love for that small school that can.
Look, my cousin went to Wake. I had a beat writer on last week to kind of preview the entire College World Series, and he said Wake was the smallest D1 school in terms of enrollment with 5,000. I did not know that either.
It was even smaller when I was there, and I was there with during Tim Duncan, Randolph Childress, those years. We had about 3,300 students then.
Got some Louisiana high schools with more than that.
Yeah.
Man, I did not know that. Well, what's this ride been like for Wake? I know that sometimes not as visible on the national scene, but they've been unbelievable this year.
I mean, we've had good teams, and we've had players who've been to the big league, but this is unprecedented, for a program that hadn't been to the College World Series since 1955. For us to get back here, and again, the ACC in and of itself, I don't think Wake Forest is the only ACC team that's ever won a College World Series. So when you look at the history of the program, it's kind of, nice to finally be back in this place and to have done it with a team that seemed coming in, it just played at a level of dominance that, I don't know if anybody had been prepared for. It's been a little bit more frustrating in the College World Series, but I'm enjoying the ride.
That's the thing. And some of my friends kind of only plug into baseball when College World Series times rolls around. They're more football and basketball guys. And I tell them it's so much fun. It can be exhausting because in LSU's case, it's been every night for 4 nights now. You get off work and then you got to sit there and grind it. What do you expect from the Deacs tonight? They just haven't had it on offense since they showed up in Nebraska.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing. I think game 1, they scratched it out, down 2-0. You rally in the 8th. Then last night, up 2-0, and they made that one fatal mistake, which against LSU is going to get you. If you make that wrong pitch, they have enough guys who can send the ball out of the park. Wake Forest has had their opportunities. Guys have gotten on base, but they have not gotten enough of those hits to just scratch out a run or two in an inning. I mean, there were about 3 innings last night where they really had good opportunities to score runs and couldn't bring anybody in. So, yeah, it's frustrating, but tonight, what more could you ask for? The 2 best pitchers in college baseball going at it, 2 of the best offenses in college baseball, 2 teams that won't beat themselves, who have great head coaches who, are not going to let the moment be too big for their teams. So, I mean, to me, for Wake Forest, a team that has not lost a series the entire year, this is it. LSU is a series. This is the 3rd game of this series. Yeah. So, our history for this season is on the line tonight, and I'm hoping the Deacs can pull it out.
We shall see. It's there are going to be 2 really nervous fan bases watching it, and one that's real fat and happy in the Florida Gators who are saying, "Yeah, burn those aces, guys. We'll see somebody come this weekend." So it should be quite a scene up there in Omaha. It should be another scene in the NBA draft as well, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit. We're chatting with David Grubb from Harden to Paint Media. How real do you think this buzz is about the Pels making a real shakeup here?
I think there will be some moves. But my belief at this point is that they'll be on the periphery. You could see, reserves moved. You could see some of the younger players moved, maybe even a Jonas Valanciunas get moved. But I really don't feel that David Griffin is ready to break up Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram without having a reasonable sample size. The fact of the matter is Zion Williamson has played 114 games as a Pelican, and in those games, the team is 57-57. They're a 500 team. Over the last 4 years without him, they're a 45% winning team. That's not a major difference, but you're talking about the few games that Zion has played. It's a clear difference that this team is better without him. And he's the best and most talented player this franchise has ever had. So I think David Griffin has a heavy decision to make. Do you just give that up without giving it every opportunity to work? I think he's willing to give it one more shot, not for a whole season. If it gets out of the gate and this team is not where it should be, everybody's going to be scrambling. David Griffin will probably fire Willie Green, and Zion or B.I. would get traded at that point. But I think that, knowing what they know, that this team was in first place in late December, they've got to see and just find out. I just don't think that they can break it up yet, as frustrating as it has been.
Would breaking it up be an admission of failure in a way? And at that point, is there a decision to be made at the top with Gail Benson about David Griffin and about Trajan Langdon?
I guess there's 2 ways you can look at it, because number one is
I think that they're the original sins that David Griffin made. You can't ever blame him for drafting Zion Williamson.
Sure.
He was the consensus number one pick. But the two things he did wrong out of the gate, he didn't get a new coach. You bring in, I think if you had Willie Green to fail in the early time for this team when it was going to struggle, we'd be in a different position now, experience-wise with Willie. Second, the failure of not putting enough veterans around Zion early and trying to assemble this group of young players around a number one pick. I think the template has been, when you have a number one overall player, that usually you get vets around them and you let the young player do what they do, but the vets are stable. The Pelicans brought in all those kids, and they're still an extremely young team, 9 players with less than 5 years experience in the league. So I think that has hurt Zion as well, and that's on Griffin. But the things that he can't control, injuries, Zion's approach to fitness, those types of things, I don't think you can hold him against Griffin, but he is ultimately responsible. That's what you get when you sit in the big chair and you take the big check. So, yeah, if this does fail, it is a referendum on David Griffin, and I do think that he would be it wouldn't be out of line for him to lose his job.
So how do you expect the Pelicans to help themselves tonight? Can they help themselves at 14, or does it have to be with trading assets to go get a proven vet?
I think you can help yourself at 14 because no matter what, this is a team that, if it's healthy, has its top 7 to 8 players of its rotation locked in. So there's not a lot of playing time for a rookie to come in. If you're getting a rookie, what you want is somebody who does something that you can't do. So I think you've seen the most draft projections either have the Pelicans taking a shooter, a combo guard type, or targeting Derek Lively out of Duke, a guy who can block a lot of shots. Only played 20 minutes a game last year, but blocked almost 3 shots a game. So I think that's what they're looking for, somebody with a little bit more of a specialized skill set, because there isn't a lot of playing time, and if you're going to get in, do this one thing well, and so they can get better. But if you're looking for a rookie who's going to come in and change the direction of the team, that's not going to happen tonight unless they do make that incredible trade and jump up to either the second or third spot.
Who do you think goes second?
I still think this is a smokescreen by Charlotte.
Yeah.
That they're not really in love with Brandon Miller the way that they say they are. And I do think that they end up taking Scoot Henderson.
Interesting. So what's your gut tell you the Pelicans do tonight? You think they stand pat at 14, or do you think they make a move?
If they do trade, I think they trade backwards
to
maybe get later first-round value and a second-round pick to try to just, because I don't think some of those lower-end guys will be back, the Najee Marshalls, Jackson Hayes, as we talked about. So I think they've done a good job of getting those more experienced players, the seniors, coming in who can find and contribute.
David, we appreciate it. Enjoy the draft, and I don't want you to enjoy the baseball too much tonight, okay? But it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just hope it's a great game. That's all.
They've all been good in Omaha because nobody can score, so that means they've all been close. It should be some tense moments. We appreciate the time, man.
Thanks so much.
He is David Grubb, Hard in the Paint Media, Wake Forest alum, and I was back there in the Tim Duncan days, which I believe my cousin was as well. Interesting. It's a tiny little school there. I didn't realize that either, but they've got a heck of a baseball team. LSU's got 27 outs to dispatch of them for the summer, and we'll certainly talk more about that game as we move forward in the show. Jimmy's going to join us in 15 minutes from Omaha. Going to chat with him, and then we'll chat with Joe Healy. I'm very much looking forward to his thoughts. He's been there for all of it, and we'll get Joe's thoughts on the College World Series as well. When we come back, the NCAA has put LSU's basketball investigation to bed. If you haven't heard about it, I'll give you all the details next.
This is on Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has up to $7,000 off MSRP plus 0% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
To a Friday edition of Off the Bench as we recap LSU versus Wake Forest from the College World Series. Plus, Will Guillory of The Athletic joins the show to recap the NBA draft. And T-Bob is back from vacation. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The IARP. What an incredible organization that is. The Independent Accountability Resolution Process that the NCAA came up with, that's been digging into this college basketball thing for half a decade and has accomplished nothing. They finally today, after 437 years of digging through documents and doing, again, nothing, have released their findings and the punishments that they helped levied. Will Wade was punished a little bit. He gets a 2-year show cause for recruiting. I didn't even know that was a thing. So he can't do off-campus recruiting in April or summer evaluation periods. He can't have official visitors in 23 and 24. He cannot have recruiting conversations between September and October in 2024 and 2025. and he gets a 10-game suspension at McNeese. So he is very much still the coach at McNeese, and in the 11th game, he'll be out there coaching. He's got some things that he's got to adhere to in recruiting, which who knows if he will or won't. I've got my thoughts on that. But not really anything. Will Wade's punishment was he lost his job. That was the punishment. And for those that look at this and say, hey, this was, if all we were going to lose was 10 games, then why didn't you just keep Will Wade? No. If you read the report, which I didn't read the entire thing, but I got a lot of chunks of it, the report lays out very clearly that LSU's bowl ban, the termination of Will Wade, the self-imposed punishments that they put together weighed heavily into the thought process. If LSU would have just said, we're not doing squat, we're going to keep rolling with Will Wade and winning basketball games, it is likely that the NCAA would have been significantly more heavy-handed. But in all this fallout, and I haven't even told you what LSU's punishments are, and they're basically nothing. They lose a scholarship for one scholarship for 2 different years, and they're on a 3-year probation in football and basketball. But there's essentially no real punishment for Matt McMahon's program. The punishment here was twofold. The punishment was Will Wade lost his job. The second punishment was this hung over LSU's head for 2 years after Will Wade was gone, a year and a half. So that's the punishment. The IRP, the NCAA, they didn't do anything. They held this over LSU's head. LSU handled it satisfactorily in their eyes, and because of that, they just went on with it. So it's finally over, and Matt McMahon is not punished, and that is justice, in my opinion, that Matt McMahon did not face further punishment because he didn't do anything wrong. And if you wanted to punish somebody here, at this point, it's Will Wade. So Will Wade's now in the clear. All these things that he was doing in the dark of night on pulling tapped phone lines is now essentially legal, in a sense. And he'll coach McNeese for 2 years and then go coach in the Big 12 or the ACC or the SEC. That's just the way this thing's going to work out. LSU has moved on. They've got Matt McMahon now, and he's either going to sink or swim, but there are no more excuses. He's got his roster put together this year while the cloud of the NCAA uncertainty, hangs over. Now it's gone. So there's no issue with him recruiting. No questions that can't be answered because the answers aren't there yet. Everything is black and white and all laid out. And if you want to go in there and read the entire, IRP findings, you can do that. They had a press conference. There will be some stories out there. But it's basically, as we supposed from the day that Will Wade was fired, it's a nothing burger. The punishment was Will Wade being fired and LSU having to sit through 2 years of total uncertainty to put basketball rosters together. They did nothing, as they did nothing to Arizona. They did nothing to North Carolina. They're going to do nothing to Kansas, and that'll be the last case that they rule on, and then they'll dissolve this worthless committee that, once again, did nothing. I don't know. I would love someone on that committee to be injected with some truth serum and go through what this process was for 2 years, that you came through and did nothing. Nothing to Arizona, nothing to LSU, nothing's going to happen to Kansas. They don't do anything. Then what was taking so long? Usually when you take a long time, you're accomplishing something. They didn't accomplish anything. The only consequential decision in this entire thing was Scott Woodward firing Will Wade. And he did that in 5 minutes. And the IARP sat there for 2 years and combed through documents and did nothing. What a joke. It's a joke to the LSU fans who are on this side of it. It's a joke to the media who actually wanted blood for these flagrant cheaters that are out there. Arr. I roll. But it's finally over, and that's a good thing for LSU basketball. Now you move forward with your program, and you have no more issues. So shout out the IARP. Go grab a cocktail. Good 2 years of work there. I've got a busy second hour coming up. Jimmy Ott is going to join us at the top of hour number 2. That's powered by Rev Business. We appreciate them for bringing us our coverage from Omaha all week long. Joe Healy's up there in Omaha as well. We always talk to him at 2:15 on Thursdays. We certainly will. And I've got one more preview of LSU and Wake Forest coming up in hour number 2 as well. So don't go anywhere. It's a busy Thursday. It's a fun Thursday. It's an anxious Thursday. And we've got 1 hour left here on the Capital City's leader in sports talk. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $25,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Call in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA Draft in Brooklyn tonight. The San Antonio Spurs hold the first pick.
And the only surprise will be if they don't take 19-year-old French prospect Victor Wembanyama. ESPN's Andrea Carter believes the 7'5" Wembanyama could be better than Nikola Jokic.
The things that we're seeing from Jokic in terms of facilitating and passing and distributing the basketball and scoring the basketball and rebounding the basketball, there is all of that, plus the moves that Victor Wembanyama can make like a true guard.
Andrea Carter on Green Eat. Live draft coverage starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and TV, 8 Eastern on ABC. After winning the national championship in April, UConn basketball coach Dan Healy gets a new 6-year contract. ESPN has learned it's worth almost $33 million guaranteed. Number 1 Wake Forest and 5-seed LSU play again tonight in Omaha for a spot in the College World Series final. 7 Eastern for the game on ESPN2.
Is your summer staffing situation significantly scarce? Then you need Indeed. Their powerful all-in-one hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Want to find your next great hire? Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
4 hours to first pitch in Omaha, Nebraska. LSU and Wake tonight. We've had coverage from Omaha all week long, courtesy of our friends over at Rev Business. Jimmy and Charlie have been there for a week now. Let's join Jimmy now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. You ready to come home?
Tomorrow, yes, I am. 8 of 9, 8 down, 1 more to go, Hunt.
That's it. Are y'all in the press box? Are y'all going to the games? Are y'all just watching at the sports book? How have you been taking the games in?
We have been everywhere. All of the above. Tonight we're going to be in seats in the club section tonight.
Oh, come on. And when you're the mayor of Omaha like Charlie, you know people. You get put up in the club level, I see.
Yes, and it pays to be kind to Omaha Steaks as well.
Ah, I like that a lot. Look, they got some good grub there in Omaha. What are the restaurants you got to hit when you go up there? I know you've been a million times.
The Drover, for sure. 801 Chop House downtown. Historic, man. Historic building. It's a great place. Besides that, man, just kind of around town, not a whole lot. Spaghetti Works is downtown. It's okay. I'm gonna tell you what, man. Barrett's dishes out some good sandwiches.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got that flat grill going. They do a hell of a Philly cheesesteak, with the peppers and onions, and that Blarney Stone with the grilled turkey with the cream cheese and on that marble rye bread. So that's actually a little bit of a hidden secret right there. But I've picked up on a few. There's a kind of a new sort of boutique hotel. The Cottonwood is in the Blackstone district. They have a steakhouse, which is incredible in there. It's really cool.
We always talk about the shift change with LSU fans in the College World Series. You got some that come for the first leg, some that come for the last. I'll count me and you as a shift change here because if they can find a way this evening, as of 8:15 this morning, I'm ready to roll. I'm booked a flight for Saturday morning. I think there's a lot of folks that'll follow suit there. I think there'll be a really good contender this weekend if LSU can find a way.
And then, like you said, like we saw last night, the blonde-haired lady, Crystal Musgrove, is always on TV. She packed for 14 days. I helped unload the luggage. I knew it. So anyway, I mean, she's there's a few. There's a few that are here for the duration. Some people usually that don't have a ton of work responsibilities that they can get away. That they can get away from. So anyway, it's that's been a theme. That we've discussed. Does it compromise the integrity of a baseball tournament when you try and compress it like this? The folks at Omaha, like Ed Service, the Creighton coach, he said, we're going to have a kind of a follow-up meeting, 2 days after this thing is over, and we listen to people and listen to their, sort of their gripes, complaints, their, the praise, and try and shape it. And he thinks at least the way these games have been really exciting and drama-filled, not that it pertains any bit to the format, but he thinks it's going to be here to stay, at least for the foreseen future. But we know one thing, man. You get in that losers bracket, and if you come here with a lack of pitching depth to begin with, it's going to force some guys that aren't used to, into roles that they're just not used to. So far, pretty damn good for LSU, especially last night.
Yeah, look, you're not compromising anybody's arms or risking anybody's health if you're Florida and you go out there and you take care of your business and you throw Sproat, and you throw Waldrop, and you throw Caglione, and then you come back and throw those three guys on full rest. That's the way you got to do it. If you don't do it that way, you gotta find another, and it's a little more challenging. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm looking at LSU. I mean, LSU could have, theoretically, if Herring didn't have it last night, LSU could have almost run out of pitchers last night, of guys that could actually throw.
Yeah, and that's kind of a theme too. This Wake Forest lineup is not performing like we had seen them. Now the regional and super regional, you saw the numbers. I watched them a lot in the ACC tournament along with the regional and super regional, but they're a little bit of stage. The big stage has got to them a little bit. Think about it, Hunt. They faced down the line pitching for Stanford. Yeah. Stanford didn't throw their ace against them. I mean, LSU. They faced LSU's number 2, okay, but they avoided Skeens, and they avoided Skeens last night as well. So I mean, when they're 3 games, it's not like they're just going against this unbelievable pitching. The only thing I will get back to your Florida point, they did have the luxury of starting one day early.
They did.
Now
right.
we saw that once the super regional television schedule came out. Because everybody on the 1, 4, 5, 8 seed bracket, they all started their super regional on Saturday and not on Friday. So you could you could see the handwriting on the wall. That bracket was going to start their games on Saturday as opposed to Friday.
You know who was okay with that? The guy who hosts the 1 to 3 show in Baton Rouge, who hadn't had to deal with a 1 o'clock start time for LSU yet. that was just fine with me if they wanted to stay in that bracket. What's realistic for Skeens tonight? I know y'all talked about it on your show.
I say it's more routine altering than rest altering minus 1 day. You follow enough Major League Baseball, and you know that every 6th day is pretty much the norm in Major League Baseball. And look, we've seen Friday night starters all of a sudden playing a Thursday, Saturday SEC series, and they pitch on Thursday, and it's not like it's a big deal, but you are getting 4 days rest instead of 5 days rest, pitching 5 days later. I mean, cut into his pitch count instead of an effective 125, you might have a 100. Is that fair? I mean, maybe. We did see that with the kid that was overused for Stanford, the lefty, who all of a sudden in the 5th inning, I mean, he hit a wall against Tennessee. He couldn't get anybody out. So I think that's 90, 100 pitches effectively, and then you really have to start looking, because what did he throw against Tulane? Was that 132?
Yeah, it was way up there.
It was 132. Tulane actually threatened against him a little bit in that one, but boy, he was lights out. I don't have to tell you. I mean, Tennessee, man, unlike the Arkansas game, I mean, how many strikes did Tennessee just swing through? Balls in the strike zone, which really was impressive, as opposed to the Arkansas SEC tournament game where they just kept fouling off 2-strike pitches over and over and over. So he certainly handled the big stage just fine. It's not always a given, and man, he should be lights out again tonight.
I would think so. Look, Arkansas did a phenomenal job in that game of fouling pitches off, of taking close strikes. It's just hard to replicate that, because hitting a foul ball is not something that is really controllable. I mean, you might put weak contact in fair territory, you might foul it off. Now, taking pitches can be, but you take too many pitches against Skeens, who throws nothing but strikes, and you're facing 1-2, 0-2 counts. The guy throws 100. That's not a great way to make a living. So I like where Skeens is heading into this game.
Yeah, I thought that Arkansas appearance was really – it intrigued me because, okay, Riley Cooper is not a better pitcher than Paul Skeens, okay? He was that day.
Yeah.
I mean, against those guys. And part of it, I think Skeens did not quite have his best stuff, his out pitch. And I think it was a lot of Arkansas was really keyed up to going against Skeens. And when he left, when they chased him, I thought they exhaled. and kind of lost their focus and their edge a little bit. They didn't seem to battle Riley Cooper as much as Paul Skeens. And, ponder on that for a little bit.
I've gotten with the I know, it's just nuts. I've gotten with the sales department up here at Guarantee. We're going to put together a package for the morning coffee flag check next year in Omaha. What do we see this morning? What do we got on the wind?
Go down to Howard Street in the Old Market and get my cappuccino and head to the right center field where it's blocked off, but you can get through with like those little carts and things like that. But I park there, put on the hazards, roll on in, and it's blowing in a little bit, not nearly like it's been the last few days. So that with our Max Gotro, my assistant, wanted to be a weatherman, so he loves looking at weather. It's also calling for about 5 to 10 miles per hour as opposed to 15 to 20 the last few days. So the wind, I say, is not going to be as much of a factor in tonight's game as we've seen since Monday.
All right, that's good to hear. All right, Jimmy, we appreciate your work.
How about the home run? First 6 games, 14.
Yeah.
Next 6, 3.
Just went away. That's just brutal. I've got a bold prediction tonight. I got Tommy White hitting one out down the right field line. He's done it so many times this year. That's the only place where the ball carries. I got Tommy White going deep tonight. If he can just stop swinging at balls in his eyes, I think he'll be just fine.
Tonight's the night. Yep.
All right, well, enjoy the club level, Jimmy. We appreciate it.
All right, hon. See you.
Jimmy Ott, their coverage all week long brought to you by the folks over at Rev Business. It's been a great week for them. And like I said, hopefully a little shift change there. Jimmy coming home tomorrow. I will hopefully be headed that way early Saturday morning from the Big Easy. All right, let's head back to Omaha. After this timeout, Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team, will join us.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. He's the owner and founder of Parish Restaurant, Standard Coffee Company, and Heritage Catering in Fun Row up in Northeast Louisiana. He's built national acclaim as a chef. Food Network star finalist in 2017. He beat Bobby Flay. Food and Wine named him People's Best New Chef in America in 2015. And even though he's got a national profile, he always comes back home to Monroe, and that's where he cares about, and that's why he's a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, it could be a nonprofit, it could be a person like Corey, it could be a company that's doing great philanthropic work in our state. We want to tell their story, so go to lwcc.com/champions, nominate a champion of Louisiana, so LWCC can pass that right along to us. Corey Barr is June's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Turn my music high, 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 high. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you can run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
It's day 9 of our coverage in Omaha, brought to you on Friday from friends at Supreme Rice. That's right, live at lunch from the Ameristar Sportsbook in Omaha. Day 9, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here, 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, looking to snag Joe Healy, our guy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Package. They have been up in Omaha since we started this thing. D1 Baseball guys have done an awesome job of giving some podcasts early in the morning, some predictions and previews for the day, reacting to what they have seen the previous night. It's Kendall Rogers, it's Aaron Fitt, it's Coach Rooney, and of course Joe Healy has been up there from the beginning. We've been talking to Joe all season long, and I always appreciate his time. He gives us a little bit more here on the eve of the championship series here that's coming up tomorrow. We'll see who's in it with Florida. We head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline now and go up to Omaha to chat with Joe. Joe, thanks for the time. How are you, man?
Not doing too bad, Hunt. I appreciate having me on again as we kind of wind it down, believe it or not. I mean, I've heard rumors there's a big game tonight. I'm working to confirm that, but that's what I've heard anyway.
This week has been something down here. You got the gut punch on Monday, and then every day you get off work and you got to crank it back up. And LSU's been in that night slot and been playing for their lives, and they've played really good baseball. I want some big picture stuff here before we get into the game tonight. Bigger deal that all these games are very, very close and dramatic, or that no one can crack 6 runs and there's been 3 homers since Monday?
I mean, I think I'll go bigger deal that the games have been close, because I think that draws people in and makes people interested who otherwise might just kind of, drive by, and if the game's 8-2, they might move on. So I think that's been good for the sport. But yeah, I mean, I think the worm has kind of turned a little bit. Early in the week, I think everybody, myself included, was really excited about, look at all these close games. Every game is really exciting, because last year we had so few good games in Omaha. But now I think we're kind of all at the point where it's like, man, we're really tired of seeing hard hit balls just die on the warning track or even more shallow. So the worm has kind of turned on that. But if you're going to make me choose, one or the other, I do think that's the sheer number of close games has been a nice change from last year anyway.
Let's talk about Florida for a second before we get into LSU and Wake. How impressed have you been with the Gators?
Very. I mean, how could you not be in there in the catbird seat where they can just line everything up just the way they have all year? And that's obviously an enviable position to be in. And I was a little bit down on earlier in the series, I was a little bit down on just kind of what they were doing offensively. But I think, as you've seen, as time has gone on, and that's affected more and more teams. And I think at this point, it's just fair to say that's just kind of the way this series is going to go. It's not necessarily anything against Florida, but I saw Jack Caglione really get into a couple balls that just didn't go anywhere. And so, but they've played to their type. You and I have talked all season about Florida. There was concerns about their pitching staff in the midseason, but then Jack Caglione got better, and his start, yesterday wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And their guys in the bullpen are their guys in the bullpen. And when Brandon Neely's right, he did give up a run yesterday, but when he's right, he's about as good as anybody on the back end. And, Slater and Fisher have been good, and this is exactly what they've been building for. It's like, I hear coaches say every year, players are allowed to get better. Players are allowed to figure some things out. And Florida does look like a team that, from the mid-season point when they were clearly very talented and very good to now when they feel more like a finished product. They've just continually made strides, and that's why they're here now.
All right, let's talk about LSU and Wake. What have you made of LSU's back end of its pitching staff the last couple of days?
I mean, it's been great. ERA's under 2, and this is what you need when you lose a game early in the series. The kind of stuff they've gotten from Ackenhausen and Herring in particular is exactly what you need. If you don't get that, you're done, basically. And that's not just true of teams that have had pitching questions throughout the year. That's true of every team, right? I mean, even teams that are good on the mound, if you lose early in the series and then have to win 3, 4, however many games in a row just to get back, you're going to need someone out of your normal mix, if you will, to do something that you haven't seen them do. And that's what LSU's gotten in 2 straight games. But I've been incredibly impressed. I think, the linchpin to it all kind of feels like, even though he hasn't had the longest outings, I mean, obviously we're paying a lot of attention to Ackenhausen and Herring, but having Riley Cooper be what he's been, where he's the guy who goes out there and, the numbers are what they are. But I think you and I both know he's at a point now where, when he comes in there, the team gets a little bit of a lift, and he thinks he's going to retire every batter he faces. And he's just kind of got some juice right now. So when he comes into the game, I think there's a lot of confidence that he is a stopper that I don't necessarily think that I thought he could be. Earlier in the season, I thought, that's a nice piece, and he's a nice kind of situational guy, or maybe he's a bridge guy. And now it's like, look, I mean, when the game is on the line, you just know the ball is going to be in his hand. And in April, I might not have felt that comfortable with that. But right now, if I'm LSU, I absolutely do.
When the dust settles on this thing, I'll ask somebody on LSU staff because they'll know, and I'm not capable of going back and looking this up. But Riley Cooper, at some point, I don't remember when it was, but I looked at LSU's team stat sheet, and his batting average against was like 320. And I was like, good grief. And you wonder if some of that may have been bad luck early on, because it should not be the case. He throws a lot of strikes, and maybe that's just equaling out now that there's guys that are putting the ball in play like they were previously, but they're just not finding holes against him, and it's kind of evening out.
I think that's a lot of it. I mean, especially when you're a reliever, your sample sizes are so small that all it really takes is a cluster of hits that shouldn't be hit to take place for your numbers to just get totally wonky and out of line. So I think there's a lot of that, because at no point this year have you and I kind of looked at, or anybody really looked at Riley Cooper and go and went like, oh, he looks lost. You can't even pitch him right now. It's never really been that, and LSU has had guys throughout the year where we went, you can't really pitch him right now. He's never been one of those guys, so I think you're onto something there. I think he probably just had the term they use, which sounds like a little bit of a cuss word, but a cluster luck, which is that the hits just kind of got clustered in such a way that it made the numbers get wonky and out of whack, and now maybe it's just kind of course correcting.
Very good enunciation there on cluster luck.
Yeah, had to be
all
real
right,
slow.
let's talk about tonight's pitching matchup that we assume will happen. Certainly, we don't know anything, but I would have to imagine Skeens and Lauder will get the baseball. What did you see with Lauder against Stanford?
He looks to me like a guy who, while he is still very, very good and could pitch his brains out tonight and be excellent, and like that is in there. But he looks to me, and this is my kind of amateur opinion on it, like a guy who's wearing down a little. He's had a big innings load. He was their guy when they still didn't exactly know what the rest of the rotation was going to be. He was the certainty, not in a way totally unlike what Skeens has been for LSU. But it just doesn't feel quite as sharp. Whereas, when I seen Skeens a couple nights ago, he looked like the same guy he's really been all year, if not maybe a little bit better in some ways. So again, don't be surprised, LSU fans, if Lauder comes out and really shoves and gives LSU and Skeens a game. But I would say advantage LSU in this pitching matchup, assuming Skeens feels good on what is somewhat short rest, not altogether short rest. I'm not worried about that, but I think Lauder just feels a little bit, maybe 15 to 20% less effective and less fresh than he did early in the season. And in a game like this, when every single one of these games is a close game, those kind of edges are what you're looking for.
This seems like eons ago, but you were there. What did you see from Paul Skeens against Arkansas and Hoover? That's really been, I know they took him out for a pitch count there, so the line's not totally indicative, but Arkansas did a pretty good job in that game. Is there anything replicable there?
I'm not entirely sure, because I have to admit, that game, as much as the pitching matchup, we kind of tried to talk ourselves into that a little bit, the Hagen-Smith and Paul Skeens deal. But even going into that game, the game didn't feel consequential, and I don't really know if that's fair or if it was just me and the folks I talked to in the press box felt that way. But it just felt like the stakes were really, really low. It almost felt like like an exhibition game or something, where it was like, oh, cool, we get to see these really nasty pitchers throw, and then that'll be fun. And then, like, the result is whatever, I don't know which way it'll go. And so I actually don't know if there's that much replicable. I would say it's more like when Skeens threw against Kentucky and gave up some runs in garbage time. To me, it feels more like that because the intensity just didn't seem to be there. So I think it's more like it was on Skeens' arm as opposed to anything the Arkansas bats did. Now, what I will say, if you're going to look for something replicable, and I'm not sure Wake is the offense for this, if you're going to look for something replicable, it's that Arkansas just always has a really mature approach at the plate. There are a lot of teams that go up there and just hack, right? And if they run into ball, South Carolina is a little bit like this. They're up there to hack, and they're going to run into balls, and every once in a while that's going to lead them to a victory against a pitcher they otherwise wouldn't hit. But Arkansas is a team that always has an idea. Every batter up there is looking to do something beyond just see ball, hit ball. And so when they're doing that effectively, it can wear a pitcher, and they're cerebral hitters. So I think there is something to that. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure Wake's the offense to do that, because I frankly, and I said this on our live stream this morning, like, I just don't like anything I've seen from Wake's offense this week. It's just been a lot of standing still and hitting. And then when the wind is blowing in like it is and the park is playing bigger than it already is, their offense just hasn't worked. And so maybe it will tonight. I don't know, but I'm not necessarily betting on it.
All right, last one here. Louder's obviously great, and Sullivan is fantastic out of the bullpen, but he threw 56 pitches. The guy that I think has the scariest stuff in Wake's pen is Camden Manasseh. He has been a one-inning guy basically the entire season. Tonight's a little different. Is there a situation where Camden Manasseh throws 50 pitches tonight, or is that just not in the cards?
Yes. Whether or not he can do it effectively, we will all find out together. But, yes, there is a scenario. I think they're going to put Wake is famously, and look, good for them. I appreciate coaching staffs that do this. They are famously careful with pitchers and their pitch counts. They don't do anything crazy. So I appreciate that about them. But this game is a little bit different. I think Manasseh is going to be in the game pretty early when things start to go sideways, and I think they're really going to push it with him. And I think you're right. You've pinpointed the right guy. Like, he's nasty. He's got the mentality. Like, he thinks he's better than you, no matter who you are at the plate. He thinks he's better than Dylan Cruz. He thinks he's better than Tommy White. And he's kind of that, and I mean this in a good way, he's kind of that psychopath reliever. Like, he's just got a crazy mentality, and when those guys start rolling downhill, they're really, really hard to hit. So Wake's going to go to him about as early as I imagine they feel comfortable, and then ride it out with him about as long as they can.
We shall see. It should be an incredible one. As I mentioned to you earlier via text, I'm jittery about this one because this will be a great opportunity for me and my dad to go up there. If LSU can get it done, but they've got 27 outs to get. It should be crazy up there in Omaha. Enjoy it, Joe. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, hon. Talk to you soon.
Joe Healy, D1 Baseball, SEC Extra Team. They have put out incredible content all week, as you would imagine. And we certainly appreciate him giving us a little bit of time here, as he does on Thursdays. We'll do it one more time with him next week, and then we'll be off for the summer. Incidentally, like, this doesn't necessarily matter too much to y'all because it's my job, not yours. But this baseball team getting us all the way to the end of June is such a blessing for content on this radio station. Thinking about the fact that if they lose in the regional like last year, you've got to really churn through June before you can even get to July, where you got media days and they don't report until August. You can have 2 months that just, well, you can find stuff to talk about. Certainly there's recruiting in the Major League Draft and mini camps and OTAs and all that kind of stuff. It's so much better when there's massive stakes in a team that we cover, and that's certainly the case. And they've gotten us almost as far as they can get us. They got one more to get through. So we'll keep talking about it. I'll give you my final thoughts on the game, including one prediction that I have for this evening. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. What if you say, what remodeling a closet? It's just a place you hang clothes. I'm telling you, there are some things that David Duvall and his team can do that can totally change the functionality of your closet and certainly the aesthetic of your closet. Some of the before and after pictures are up there on the website, onebathandclosets.com. Most people don't have enough space for their shoes. Some people just don't have enough space for everything that they've got. Well, you can put in different cubbies and shelves and mirrors, and they've got all kinds of things like drop-down curtain rods that can store clothes way up, and then when you need them, you just pull the rod right on down, and they're accessible. Perfect for winter coats that you don't need but for 3 months out of the year down here in South Louisiana. Let David Duvall and his team come in and give you a free consultation. I'll tell you this, for listeners of the Hunt Palmer Show, if you Go to David Duvall, One Bath and Closets. Tell him you heard about him on our show. He's not going to charge you to rip out your current closet. He's not going to charge you for the labor to install the new unit. He's just going to charge you for the cost of that one unit. Go to onebathandclosets.com. Request that free consultation. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We're recapping LSU Wake Forest from the College World Series. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, LSU and Wake tonight, 6 o'clock, in case you hadn't heard. Let's talk about it. As far as the pitching goes for both teams, I will tell you how it stacks up. We'll start with Wake. Rhett Lauder threw 100 pitches on Saturday. I believe he is good to go. However, we discussed it. Joe Healy discussed it. There's been a little bit of a weakening in Lauder's stuff over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He hasn't gotten tagged by any measure. He's stayed in ball games. He's put pretty good lines up, but it hasn't been the dominating stuff that it was in April. But I think he's going to get the ball. There are some rumblings he may not. We'll see. But here's what else is on this Wake Forest pitching staff from a high-end perspective. There can always be a Nate Ackenhausen or Griffin Herring who's not been heavily used and has not been a key piece to a pitching staff that goes out there and throws a gem. That can always happen, but I'm going to talk about the top end of Wake Forest staff because I think that's who they're going to go to most likely in this game. Josh Hartle threw 107 pitches on Monday. I don't believe he'll be back on 2 days rest after 107 pitches. He's in the same boat that Ty Floyd's in. I don't think you'll see him either. So those two starters for Monday's game I don't expect to see. Seth Keener was last night's starter for Wake Forest. Obviously, we won't see him. He threw 77 pitches last night. Sean Sullivan is phenomenal. He's one of their best pitchers. He's been great all year. He threw 25 pitches on Saturday and then 56 more last night. That seems like probably not. Maybe, but probably not. Then they've got the guys that I expect to see. Michael Massey has been elite for them all year long, a key bullpen piece. He's nasty. He threw 4 pitches on Monday. He will be ready to go. That's a guy you're going to see. Camden Manasseh, so there's Michael Massey, and there's Camden Manasseh. That's the one me and Joe were just talking about. He, in my opinion, is their best relief pitcher. I think he's awesome. He threw 10 on Saturday and 14 more on Monday. He has been a one-inning guy for them. He's sometimes gone an inning and 2/3, but this is not a guy at any point in the year that has been stretched out to like 4 innings. That just has not been the way they have used Camden Manasseh. That's the guy that I expect to see a good bit tonight. I think he will log the most innings he has logged in a single game this year tonight. And that's a guy that LSU probably is going to have to go through to win this game. Cole Rowland is your boy that's throwing his glove everywhere and going nuts on the mound. You know him by now. That's another guy who they trust. He threw 14 pitches on Monday. He's ready to go. So if you look at those, that's 4 guys. That is Rhett Lauder, Michael Massey, Cole Rowland, and Camden Manasseh, who have been elite pitchers for them all year long, and those guys are ready to go. Those guys, theoretically, should be able to get you through 9 innings. You've got a starter in Lauder. You've got Massey and Rowland, who have extended a little bit, and then you've got Manasseh, who's your best guy, who you figure you would, as Joe said earlier in the interview that we just did, they can push him a little bit, and that's a guy I expect to see. You obviously manage these games a little differently than you would in April because you got to get your best guy in there, and you can't wait to save him to get the last 3 outs of a game that you're down 4 runs in. You got to go to your guys. So those are the guys I expect to see. So I think there's only 2 guys totally off the table for Wake Forest. That's Monday and Wednesday's starters, Josh Hartle and Seth Keener. Sean Sullivan is iffy after 56 pitches last night. For LSU, what do we expect to see on the pitching front? I expect to see Paul Skeens. And as I said in the first hour, and I will double down on here, I expect pretty much a normal outing from Paul Skeens in terms of his stuff and in terms of how long he goes. This, to me, in my opinion, is not a 70-pitch limit deal. I think Paul Skeens is going to throw 110 pitches tonight. I think he's going to throw 101 miles an hour, and I think he's going to be great. Do I think Wake Forest is capable of putting some good swings together? I do. Do I feel comfortable and confident with Paul Skeens on the mound? I do, and I don't think he's coming out after 4 innings of work. After Skeens, I think Thatcher Hurd is guy number 1. He did throw 65 pitches on Monday. However, he was up in the bullpen last night. So I think he's ready to go. Do I think you're going to see him for 5 innings tonight? I don't. Do I think you're going to see him for 3 to 6 outs? I do. I think Thatcher Hurd is a guy you're going to go to. Gavin Guidry is good to go. One pitch on Monday, 20 last night. I think that he is ready to go in a pretty big spot. And I also don't think Riley Cooper is shut down. I think that guy is he's just a rubber arm. And I think that even though he's thrown a lot of pitches, 22 on Saturday, 40 more on Tuesday, and 20 more last night, I think 2 or 3 outs Riley Cooper is good for. If you find yourself in a spot where you're facing Wake and you're looking at Hawk, who's left-handed, Kurtz, who's left-handed, Corona, who's left-handed, any of those guys come up and you need to give them a different look, I think you're going to see Cooper. It may be one guy, one big spot against a lefty, but I think he can go. The guys who are down for LSU tonight that I don't believe you will see, Ty Floyd, who threw 97 on Monday, I don't think you'll see him. Nate Ackenhausen threw 93 pitches on Tuesday, you will not see him. And Griffin Herring threw 80 last night, you will not see him. But everybody else is ready to go. That gives you Skeens, Hurd, Cooper, Guidry. That's your top 4. I gave you top 4 for Wake. That's your top 4 for LSU. If you need to go to Blake Money, if you need to go to Bryce Collins, I think they're available. Javen Coleman threw 40 last night, probably not coming off of Tommy John surgery. I would put kind of a soft X next to him. And then obviously you've got Sam Dutton and Christian Little as well. So I think that these teams are going into this saying, here are my top 4, and this is what you're going to get. For LSU, it's Skeens, Hurd, Cooper, and Guidry. For Wake, it's Louder, it's Massey, it's Rowland, and it's Manassi. And to me, it's kind of what and what at this point. Wake's staff is excellent. They're at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of the starter, and I think they've got a little more stuff on the back end. But LSU feels pretty good. And I laid out your statistics for Wake Forest offensively. It's been pretty brutal for them, and hopefully that continues tonight. I feel bad when I envision in my head Wake kind of getting it together and hitting some line drives and ground balls through the infield. I feel good when I look at the stats and see who LSU is going to start on the mound today. Just that's kind of the back and forth I've been going through. Here's my one prediction that I've got in this game tonight. We know how that ballpark plays. We know that if you hit the ball between the alleys and into center field, you're toast. We know if you hit it down the line, you've got a real chance. Cruz got one out down the line. Beloso got one out down the line. That's where the ball carries. I have watched for 6 months, really, dating back to preseason scrimmages. I've watched Tommy White hammer balls the other way and even right down the line for home runs. I know he's swinging at pitches up in his eyes right now, and he's got to hone that in. I don't know if he's pressing. I don't know if he's just not seeing the ball well. I don't know what his mental thought is at the plate. But if he can just get the ball down a little bit, down from the letters in the eyes toward the belt, he will hit a ball into the bullpen tonight. And I've said this all day today. This game is going to come down to probably 1 or 2 swings. I just don't see a scenario with Skeens going the way he's going and the Wake Forest staff as good as they are and the way the park is playing. I just have a hard time getting somebody to 8 or 9 runs. It can always happen in a baseball game. But the big 3-run doubles and 3-run homers just have not really been out there, certainly not in bunches. LSU got 1 last night. Wake Forest has 2 extra base hits in the tournament. But they got the big hit in the 8th inning against LSU. They got the big hit in the 9th inning against Stanford. That's the swing. The one with 2 guys on base and you find a gap or you find an alley. And that's what it's going to come down to. And maybe LSU does it the way they've done it for 2 nights. And maybe Wake does it. But I think there's one big swing. And I like my guys. I like Cruz. I like White. I like Morgan. I like Pearson. Beloso's been great. And let's see if JT can't snap out of it a little bit here. We'd love to see some of that. Hopefully, Skeens can demoralize them. If LSU can get out there and put a 2-spot up early, put a 3-spot early, that just makes you feel a lot better. And this will be a situation that Wake has not seen all year long. This is a team that pummeled its regional. This is a team that got out in front with a win over Bama by a run and then just absolutely crushed them from the front in game 2. If you can put them on their heels, that is a feeling they have not had all year. LSU felt it last night. They went down 2-0. Didn't feel so good. If you can put them on their heels, I think that they may not feel great about it. And look, it's going to be a great one. This is going to be one that a lot of people are going to have been looking forward to all week long, and we're finally getting it, I think, in Louder and Skeens. Again, there's a little buzz that Louder may not go, but I tend to think he's going to do that. So, man, it's going to be something up there with Chuck Schwab this evening. It's a 6 o'clock first pitch. We will have the pregame show for you on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, starting at 5:30. That'll be Chris Blair, Doug Thompson, and Bill Franquez from the press box up there at Charles Schwab Field. It's about all we can do here. We'll take one more time out, and we'll wrap things up here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank.
To a Friday edition of Off the Bench as we recap LSU versus Wake Forest from the College World Series. Plus, Will Guillory of The Athletic joins the show to recap the NBA draft. And T-Bob is back from vacation. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right. Let's play some Take It or Leave It, Jacob Beck.
All right, first one here. Chris Paul is headed to Golden State.
Yeah.
With Jordan Poole and draft picks. CP3 will get his title. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it because they'll have a good regular season. They'll get into a big playoff game and he'll get hurt, right? That's just generally how that works. He's trying, man. He's trying to push every button he can. I'm trying with Kevin Durant. I'm gonna try with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It does give them a primary ball handler to let Steph play off the ball a little bit. But it's just hard to imagine them winning a title. We'll see.
Baseball superstitions. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I got to take it. I'm like knee deep in superstitions this week. It's been ridiculous. I wore my LSU stuff to work on Monday. They lost. Have not worn LSU stuff to work since. I got this guy that's been sending me some Twitter DMs with some baseball nuggets, and I've responded the exact same words to him every day. It's a hat turnaround watching the game. It's standing up or sitting down. I'm away. This has just been an exhausting week. I think a lot of people feel the exact same way, but we got one more to get through, and then we can get back to the championship series, and you don't have your season on the brink like you do every pitch of the last 3 days. So, I'm way in on superstitions.
LSU coach Brian Kelly said college athletics is at a crossroads if this doesn't get fixed, referencing the need for federal regulation of name, image, and likeness compensation. NIL will have major changes in the next few years. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I mean, the Pandora's box is open now. It's going to be a free-for-all. That was very obvious to everyone when this happened. Whether you agreed with college athletes getting paid or disagreed, and there are plenty of people on both sides. There's nobody that thought, oh, well, they'll just contain it and they'll keep it, right there nice and neat. No, it was the second it happened, it was going to be the wild, wild west, and that's what you signed up for when that was going to be made legal. And it started with the lawmakers, and it's now trickled down in the NCAA, and it's going to be a free-for-all, and that's the way that it's going to be. So I don't know that there will be major changes. I just know that it's going to continue to be a cash grab all over the place, and that's just the new world we live in. If you hate it or you love it, that's what it's going to be.
All right, last one. Florida has added Alabama slugger Cade Shelton. Big move for the Gators. Take it or leave it.
Hit 25 home runs. I'll take it. Alabama's kind of getting ravaged. It just came out that Luke Holman has entered the transfer portal. He's, of course, their former Friday night starter, who was the one that was scratched before they played schemes, which led to Brad Bohannon being fired. So a lot of Alabama's best players are hitting the road. So it's going to be a tough rebuild there for a new head coach in Tuscaloosa. They're going to have very little talent. I'm curious to see, because Shelton is a Florida product. He was a high school player in Florida, decided to go to Alabama. I'm curious to see if Holman goes with him to Gainesville. Rich getting richer over there with Kevin O'Sullivan. They're sitting there in the catbird seat, and they're getting a 25 home run slugger from a conference rival to come on over to Gainesville. We'll see. And LSU certainly not done in the transfer portal either. They've added a couple players here, and they'll continue to do so. I think it's a tough time for head baseball coaches in the College World Series, because you're not at your office. You're in a hotel room in Omaha, and you're trying to prepare your team to play great teams and win consequential games, which is the real prize in the sport. But at the same time, you're having to go nuts in recruiting. It's the same way now in football, where you've got teams that are preparing for playoff games that are dealing with the early signing period and the transfer portal and doing all that. It's just a lot for college baseball coaches to do it. But look, Kevin O'Sullivan and Jay Johnson have both scored high-end transfers in the transfer portal while they've been up in Omaha. So it's doable. It's just just a little tougher. You got to put in a few more hours up there in Omaha when you'd really like to just be watching tape or meeting with your guys or maybe catching some sleep. But it is what it is. All right. That'll do it for us here. LSU and Wake Forest. I don't know how y'all are feeling as an audience listening to me at work, on the road, whatever you may be doing. I'm jittery to a point that I have not been in a long time for a game. I think I'll settle in once they throw the first pitch, and I'll feel like got a big 6'6" horse out there on the mound throwing 101. I'll probably settle down, but it feels like such a massive, massive day, and it really is. I tell you all the time how much I love college baseball and I love the journey of it, and this week is another instance of that. In football, you got what now is a two-game playoff, so you got 3 hours, and then you come back and do it for 3 hours in a week or so, and that's it. In this, it's just every night, it's boom, 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 and you're just, it's so constant and so heavy, and I love that part of it, but it also is exhausting. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to the first pitch. Going to be a long 3 hours and 8 minutes. But hey, the good news is for that 3 hours and 8 minutes, you've got After Further Review with Matt Moscona to listen to, as he's going to come in and take the baton from us. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, find it on Google, you can find it on Spotify, and of course, you can always find it on YouTube. We talked LSU and Wake for the first 30 minutes of the show. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint Media came on to talk about the Pelicans in the draft, but David's a Wake guy, so we got his thoughts on the Demon Deacons and what they've been doing in Omaha. That was a fun conversation. We talked about the basketball and football investigations finally coming to the close. LSU receiving basically nothing today from the IARP, so that was at the end of hour number one. In hour number two, Jimmy Ott came on. That is powered by Rev Business. So Jimmy and Charlie have been in Omaha all week. Jimmy's going to come home tomorrow, but Charlie's going to stick it out until the team is done. So we'll see if that's a tomorrow flight for Charlie or if he's there through the weekend. But thanks to Jimmy for coming on. And Joe Healy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team came on at 2:15. My final thoughts on LSU and Wake at 2:30. So catch all that on demand. Our YouTube channels, I tell you about them every day. Hunt on LSU, all the LSU football content you can handle, and Hunt on Saints. And we've also got a new YouTube channel, New Orleans Pelicans Scoop, all our Pelican segments will be on that YouTube as well. So go search those out and subscribe. We want our content to get to you as easily as possible, and you can certainly do that by subscribing to our channels. All right, I'm going to go try to kill 3 hours somehow, some way, assuming you're probably in the same boat. Matt will kill 3 hours on this microphone right here as we hand him the baton. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Our Friday show's brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Come on, Tigers. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.